a great weekend. FanFest weekend was a wild success. It was amazing. Fans got to get up close and personal with their favorite players. And we got to hear about Jose Abreu's thoughts on being a part of the Astros. The GM search seems to have narrowed, and Yuli seems to be heading to Miami. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Veer leans back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we update you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can they find you when you're not watching kickers miss the field goals?
You can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And thank you for being locked on to the Locked On Astros podcast all year round. I know we got super hyped about things during the World Series, the playoffs and everything, but we go all off season. And make sure you like us and subscribe to us on YouTube and go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast. And the FanFest was fun. I got to, when you sign up for the Legends autograph, you don't know who's going to actually be there. And this time, Jeff Bagwell was one of the legends who you got to do autographs with. So we're going to talk a little bit about that experience and who could be the Astros' next GM. We're going to talk about that. Yuli Guriel, Michael Brantley, Jeff Bagwell offered some comments there. So these are some of the things we're going to be discussing on this Locked On Astros podcast. So make sure you stay tuned in. And Brett, that was an awesome experience. There's 34,000 people at the ballpark, and the lines were long to get in. I know that producer Mark and I were able to get into the bullpen, and I was one of the first people there, so I didn't have an audience. I know Jim Crane is just kind of waiting to sign me for a minor league deal, so that way I can be called up in September as a additional player. But that was just fun, just getting out there in bullpen throwing, then going to meet all those players and just seeing all the Astros fans just so excited about their team. They just won the World Series.
Yeah, it was. And for me, honestly, it's the first fan fest I believe I've been to in probably 10 plus years. They always fall on weekends where I've got things going and meeting legends like Terry Poole, Shane Reynolds, Jason Castro, Jeff Bagwell, Eric Anthony was there. I remember getting his autograph as a kid on a ball during a game down the first baseline, and literally hadn't seen him in person since then. Brendan Backey was there to talk to him, the kid from Galveston that was phenomenal in the playoffs in the 04-05 season. Just a great time. Current players, I got in there, got to see Mr. Altuve. We got a card here. Got to meet the legend Dusty Baker. I got to tell him about the story that I've shared on the show many times about Hunter Brown, talking about, thanking me for giving him a congratulations message on making the Futures game. But when he said, I really want to be helping the Astros win a World Series. And I said, Dusty, he manifested. Now he's a world champion. Alex Bregman was there, Bill Murphy, the pitching coach, Jose Altuve, Parker Mashinsky, and Joe Perez, also on the, who have been on the show. Mark, you were there. I know I interviewed some fans in line, and I talked to them about just what it was like to be an Astros fan, who their favorite players were, walk-up songs, and I couldn't even name the walk-up songs. I think I'd heard one of them because they were from my time, but the others I didn't even know what they were. But Mark, tell us about your experience with the fans, because I know you got to go around and talk about your music. You were promoting the podcast. What was your interaction like?
Man, I had so much fun. There were so many people there who were excited about the upcoming season. It was fun to see some people, quite a few people that recognized me from my playoff run and all the music that contributed to making it memorable for a lot of people. And that meant a lot. And into moving forward for me, that it kind of gave me a little bit of extra motivation. But a lot of people were excited. I got some cool responses for what would be your home run celebration, what would be your walk-up song, if you can hang out with one player, who would it be? So we got a lot of content coming in. I too was in the bullpen. I had a nasty 12-6 curve that I tossed in there, and a fastball that felt 96 but probably was more like 57. so yeah, that was fun. I'll expect a call for spring training in the next coming weeks. But yeah, I had a great time.
That's awesome. My son and I are going to be going to spring training this year, and I got to, when I was talking to the player, I was like, "Hey, I'll see you in Florida. When I'm on spring break, and we're going to hope to connect with them there." My son and I. But what was cool was I had my grandson there. My daughter and my grandson were there, and I mean that was really, really neat. I got to take a picture with Jeff Blum and Mike Stanton. Introducing my grandson. We took a picture next to the Silver Slugger Awards, Jordan and Jose Altuve's. But I loved it because you felt the atmosphere that I felt in Game 6 of the World Series, or if you went to any of the playoff games, it still had that feeling.
The
And
buzz. Yeah.
yeah, Eric, I mean, there was a buzz in the air. The workers were happy to see us. The people at the gate were happy to see us. And it was really run pretty smoothly. I was surprised with the amount of people, how many people weren't freaking out or weren't getting mad, because usually when you have big crowds like that and people have stuff they want, I know they had the big garage sale, which I really kind of feel like I missed out on that.
Right.
Bobbleheads for $5, but you had to wait for 3 hours. But from what I hear, the wait was worth it. So it was really cool to have all three of us there. Eric, whatever
Before we
thoughts you
move
have.
on,
Yeah.
this is one of my prized possessions now. I mean, I know I have a Bagwell autograph ball if I can get it to go the right way. I'm
Got to
very
turn it up. Nope, wrong
spatial.
way.
I'm very
Right there.
All right. So, and this was also a pretty cool moment. And this is a guy that got me into baseball. You've heard my story if you're a big fan of the podcast. And so just being able to kind of meet Jeff Bagwell and some of the other guys. So that was pretty cool. So, Mark, thank you for sharing your story. And I do want to kind of move on to some of the comments that Jeff Bagwell said. And definitely some stuff that was pretty interesting. What did he have to say about Yuli Guriel? What did he have to say about Michael Brantley? And I know a lot of people are saying, well, is he the next Astros GM? No, the Astros have another idea for a GM. We'll talk about that in a second. But Brett, let's go and talk a little bit about FanDuel.
Yeah, so FanDuel is the place where you need to go because it is the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and you're probably watching the game and running to your computer or on your smart TV to watch us on Locked On Astros. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America. FanDuel, that is right. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers who join today, you can get started with $150 in free bets. That's right, free bets, 150 of them. $150 equal guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's a pretty good return. Just sign up at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, from money lines to point spreads to player props. Who is going to win the AFC and NFC championship? Who will ultimately win the Super Bowl? And why is it going to be Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals? So check all that out at fanduel.com. Also, you can even combine your bets to get an even bigger payout, the same game parlays. All of this on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, Eric,
Wow.
you had
It doesn't look good for the Cowboys at this moment, but go ahead.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say one of the cool things about FanFest is everybody got to get up close and personal. I mean, Yordan Alvarez was throwing BP, Jeremy Pena took pictures with people. I mean, the players were really accessible, and you always worry, like, is it going to actually be like the headline players, or is it just going to be the rookies or the younger guys? And Jose Abreu was there. All right. One of the things that Lance McCullers said about him, and I thought this was interesting. He says, I only have 2 jerseys of non-Astros players that I've ever asked for in my career. Jose Abreu is one of them. He said, I have a lot of respect for Jose. Obviously, Yuli Guriel is still out there, and we hope to bring him back. He's been an amazing, humongous piece of our run over the years. But Jose Abreu is a special talent. We're so excited to have him. So that was great to hear. Lance McCullers is kind of the elder statesman right now with this team, him and Altuve, really. And he's endorsing Jose Abreu because it's got to be tough to lose someone like Yuli. Right now, we're not 100%, but it looks like all things pointed to Miami for him right now.
Yeah, I know. And Abreu also said that he likes the stadium. We're here to work. I can't predict the future. I can't say I'm going to put up certain numbers, but I'm very excited to be here and really excited to support the team, become part of the family. I'm very grateful to be given the opportunity to be here. So he was legitimately excited to be here. Like most players are like, oh, FanFest, I hate this. Every year we have to do it. But he was excited, and you could see it in his face. And he was excited to meet the new fans and meet all the new players. I mean, he knows most of the players, but just to be there in the Astros uniform.
And he's the guy that you heard from Chicago White Sox media, the Chicago White Sox front office, people that had been in touch with him. You knew what kind of work he did in the community. So he's genuinely someone who who can warm up easy to a crowd. And he said, as soon as I signed, I was able to call and say hello to Yordan Alvarez. Actually, Yordan Alvarez said this. He said, we've gotten a chance to talk a lot more, and I'm obviously excited for him to be here. It's a little hard losing Yuli again, Yuli being mentioned, but losing a Cuban and at least gaining another Cuban guy, I really feel excited for him here. I mean, look, this is a close-knit group, Eric. This is a family atmosphere, and that's a word that he has used with this team many, many times. Now, someone asked us, did we try Breggie's barbecue sauce? I did not. I didn't get out to the outside. I didn't realize it was outside until afterwards I saw it posted on social media. Eric, before I left, as I was walking out, Bregman was one of the players that signed when I was there. And then he went down and basically answered questions. And then the Breggie Bomb salsa tent was in the concourse, and he came up to the tent, and he got mauled. Mark, our producer, was there. He was trying to get in touch with the Breggie Bomb people, and it was a madhouse. And then apparently he went outside and just hung out with people, signed autographs, and it was really cool to see them be as accessible as they were. And I see my mom is watching tonight. Yes, you can have the Jose Altuve autograph card, Mom. Consider it yours.
Alrighty, to kind of wrap up on Jose Abreu, that he worked with Alex Centrone earlier during the offseason, and Abreu is a good hitter already, but Centrone is just trying to find a way to kind of get him back to his old form. And he said, this is what Centrone said, that's exactly the same thing Yuli was doing. Make contact, put the ball in play, use the whole field. He's a big boy, a big, strong guy. I think he has potential to start hitting homers in this ballpark. So, I mean, it's good that Abreu's taking it seriously. And the good thing is he doesn't have to be the guy in this lineup. He just needs to be another guy. And that's kind of what Yuli Guriel did at the end of his career with the Astros, or maybe it's not the end of his career. We don't know what's going to happen at this point, but definitely something that it's good to see him. So let's go ahead and kind of steer into I know we need to talk about the GM, so I guess let's do that. We'll save Yuli for segment 3, but
Yeah.
big news is that according to Bob Nightingale, the Astros have narrowed their search for their GM to Dana Brown. He is the Braves vice president of scouting, and he's the front runner. And it makes sense because he's been with the Braves for the past 4 years. He's one of the best talent evaluators. He was responsible for drafting Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, and a few other guys and those two finished 1 and 2 in an NL last year for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
So definitely you can look at this guy bringing a lot to rebuild the Astros farm system. I know it's not terrible. The Astros seem to find a way to find the diamonds in the rough, but what this guy can do is go find some more of these guys to really restock the Astros farm system, because it's still while we still bring up talent, it still ranks way at the bottom.
And, it's kind of becoming one of those things very quickly. Like when someone from the Astros organization goes somewhere else, they're like, oh, we got an Astros guy. The Astros may be saying, we got a Braves guy. And because, the Braves have their young talent signed through 2028, and
Right.
they're building their own, I would say, kind of National League version of what the Astros have done, dominance wise. But this is what's interesting about him. Prior to coming to the Braves, his experience takes him all the way to being specialized in scouting with the Blue Jays, the Expos / Nationals, and the Pirates. So he didn't just show up yesterday. He didn't just go, hey guys, I'm here. I want a job. But Brown would become baseball's lone African-American GM. He would join Vice President Ken Williams of the Chicago White Sox as the only African-American executives in charge of baseball operations. So that would be really, really cool to have something like that, because everything that I hear about Dana Brown is 5-star, is nothing but high praise. And again, like you mentioned, Eric, to have players like this under your belt, to say, look what I've done. Because Lunau, if I remember correctly, when he came in, he did have some history of doing some things in the past. And then he came in, he kind of continued to help bolster that. This is a guy that can come in and do that same type of thing. Now, I'm not necessarily comparing him to Lunau, and you can't really compare a new GM to what Lunau did over the years until a few years down the road. So if they do hire him, and I don't believe this is a 1-year hire, because someone did ask, one of the first questions was,
no, you have to hire him for 3 years to even get him to come. Yeah.
Well, and the only reason why I mention that is because, because we have a viewer, he asked, if they hired Dana Brown, do you think he remains GM after 1 year? Because who is available. I believe he's talking about David Starnes.
Yeah.
I do not see them being able to pry Dana Brown out of his position for a one and done deal. This isn't a college freshman playing NCAA basketball hoping to jump to the NBA, right? I mean, this is a job that they need to get someone. And everybody's been freaking out, Eric, because Jeff Bagwell has been talking a lot, and someone's like, I really don't want Jeff Bagwell to be my GM. And someone responded in his defense, if Jeff Bagwell wants to pay my house note, if Jeff Bagwell wants to run my city, if Jeff Bagwell wants to become president, whatever he wants to do, Jeff Bagwell can do. Jeff Bagwell is just really pretty much the mouthpiece. He's community outreach, and he's one of the main guys that helped recruit Jose Abreu to come to the Astros. And he said this weekend, look, we're going to go get somebody. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to have somebody in that position. So he's not looking to take the position. I think Jeff Bagwell likes being off to the side. He just loves being involved. And I can't wait to see who this is that we sign, but I think it has to happen before pitchers and catchers report, which is not that far away.
Hey, Craig Biggio, can you go ahead and call Dana Brown? Yes, you used to play for him at with him at Seton Hall.
That's right.
When you played second base, he played outfield. So, do you think you can kind of get him to become the Astros GM? All right, that would be great. So yeah, there's some connection there. So they used to be teammates in Seton Hall, and so that's something. So I think that this is a possibility, and there's not any better option out there. If you want to rebuild the farm system, you got to start with the best, and that is Dana Brown. And you know what? What is also the best? Definitely listening to the Locked On Astros podcast. Make us your first listen every day. And if you want something else, if you want some more Locked On magic, go ahead and check out the Locked On MLB Prospect. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep with the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. And make the Locked On Astros podcast your number one listen. Go and subscribe to us on YouTube. And let's go ahead and talk some more about Craig Biggio's buddy, Jeff Bagwell, who you were just talking about. He had some comments this weekend about Yuli Guriel and Michael Brantley. And so you're just saying that he's not the GM, but he is the guy that's the other three guys, they're not comfortable talking, maybe. And so he's kind of the spokesperson for the committee right now until they hire somebody. And so Jeff Bagwell said this. He said, there's nobody here that loves Yuli more than us. Myself, Jim, Dusty, everybody. It's just finding the right fit for the club. He's a huge part of our success here, and we'll continue to monitor the situation. And then also, there's been a lot of reports that he's expected to sign with the Marlins on a 1-year contract, even after the trade for Araz, but no deal has been consummated yet. And also, it was reported that the Astros had offered him a 1-year deal as a reserve player, and he never picked up on that. So something that we discussed on the Talking Stros podcast is maybe this is agent talk. Maybe the Marlins thing is not as sure of a thing as we think it is. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but maybe they're just trying to get the Astros to say, okay, if you don't go ahead and pony up this guy who's has led your team in the postseason, not led, but contributed in the postseason, he could get away. So this is your chance.
Yeah, it could be. I would take that more if he hadn't had a lunch or spent time with Kim Ng, the Marlins GM.
Looking around.
I'm just saying.
I know.
If he doesn't, I mean, he's got a home there. He trains there. He lives there most of the year. He lives there when he's not in Houston. And Miami has a huge Cuban population. Now, and this is what a lot of people don't understand about, because there is a certain group that they just think that it would be a waste of a roster spot and it'd be terrible to bring Yuli back and it would just be awful, awful bad. The reason why I want to try to bring him back is not because I think he's going to turn into another Gold Glover. I don't want him to take starts from Jose Abreu. That's his job. But I want him to stay with the Astros because I'm more concerned about what can Yuli do for us after his career. But Eric, you brought up a good point, which would be kind of a counter when you and I were talking at FanFest about this, is that Yuli gave the Astros 3 years of discounted, play. And now
Right.
They're only offering him 1 year. Yuli clearly believes that he can play for 2 or 3 more years. The Marlins may be that team to give him that contract because if he's played at a reduced salary the last 3 years, there's no way he's going to get much more than that anyways. But if he can at least get another year or 2 out of it versus 1 year, and he wants to be on the field, why would you want to be on a team and not play?
Right.
My only reason for keeping him, Eric, is to keep him around so that I can then transition him to a front office job or create a position for him. Now, with that being said, does that mean if he leaves that he severs ties and the Astros can't do that and maybe he does that for whatever team he goes to? But the Astros still have his mark on the team, 22 Cuban players in the system. We now have Abreu. We have Alvarez. Alvarez is our frontline guy. And Alvarez may not be royalty in Cuba, but Alvarez and Abreu have a lot of respect in the Cuban community. So I think, look, I'm a 99 percenter. I think he is gone. I would bet $5 right now. I know it's not a lot of money, but I would bet that he goes to Miami, and I just don't see him staying. But stranger things have happened, and if the Astros can talk him into the deal they want, he'll be here. But there's no way he's going to talk them into signing him for 2 or 3 years. I just don't see that.
I mean, if it's about him wanting a multi-year deal, I don't think anybody's gonna do that at this point. He's at the wrong age. He's coming off a season where he didn't do well in the regular season, but he came alive in the postseason. But that was a short sample size. It's what can you show me during the long term? And so a team like the Marlins, they're going to be playing against teams like the Phillies and the Braves. And so do they have a shot, especially after trading Pablo Lopez? Do they even have a shot for the playoffs? So they're looking for the long term. And I think developing Garrett Cooper at first base is more of a priority. So, so maybe that leans him towards coming back to Houston, but he has to accept it. And Bagwell already said the Astros are willing to bring him back, and you could still have Hensley on this team as a reserve outfielder and infielder, and just have you need at bats because you don't know what's going to happen during the season. You'll need to rest players, so there's a lot that can happen. So it's just, will he accept that lesser role? And we honestly don't know the health of Michael Brantley. And Jeff Bagwell says that he expects that Michael Brantley will be ready for opening day. He said that the shoulder that he dealt with last year, it was his guide shoulder, not his throwing arm. So he should be able to play the outfield. He should be able to hit with no problem. And so he should be a good to go for opening day. So hopefully that is the case. But this is Michael Brantley has been good with the Houston Astros when healthy, but health has been something that's been troublesome for him. So adding a bat like Yuli is kind of something you might need to do because you don't know what you can expect for Brantley.
Yeah, but
depending on cost.
Yeah, but I just look at last year's bat. I know in the playoffs he hit well, but in the regular season he was almost a zero at the plate. And
Right.
you don't, to me, you got David Hensley. David Hensley is your utility guy.
Yeah.
And you run him out there. You got JJ Metichevic who can also come up. I mean, you've got your options.
It's either Diaz or Guriel at this point. That's literally who's probably, or Jake Myers. So who do you trust more at this point as the 26th guy? So
wait, Diaz. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, Johnner Diaz. Yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of Diaz. Diaz and Lee, they both have strengths and weaknesses. It's almost like you could take the strengths of catching for Lee and the strength of hitting for Diaz. If that could be the one player, that would be a perfect scenario.
No platoons like that. Yeah.
But, we can't exactly do those things. One of the cool things, going back to FanFest was meeting Dusty Baker for the first time. Maybe I missed the mark. I called him legend. I said, "You're a legend." Well, apparently everybody else was calling him champ. I should have called him champ. He said people were calling me champ, and I didn't know who they were talking about. And when I was walking down the street, "Hey, what's up, champ?" So Dusty Baker's really taken a liking to this. The Astros are taking a liking to this. Jeremy Pena was even asked this last week. So what are you guys expecting to do? He's like, "Well, what else are we going to do? We're gonna go back, and our goal is to win it again next year.
Right.
We're gonna run it back." And even when you said, "Hey, let's run it back," and they're like, "Yeah, definitely, we're gonna do it." Like, they've got this confidence. But what I love about this club, Eric, is even though they've won, and even though this is their second title, and some of them it's their first, but the guys on the team that were there in 17, the few that are left, they still want more. Like, you would think that they hadn't won a title. And I'm not going to share it tonight because I'm going to get some permission from someone, but I think it's been leaked what the hat is going to look like. You know how they wear the gold jersey and they have the gold hat. And
Right.
I confirmed with the local with our friends over at Big City Cap Zone. The hat that's leaked online is actually the hat that they're going to unveil during that championship wearing day. And so once I get approval from the person that has the pictures up, we'll share them with the people this week. So that hat has been leaked. And I know hats are kind of a big thing here in Houston. But I miss seeing Jeremy Pena. I know a lot of people got to high five him. And Eric, he's kind of become the Beatles. I mean, Jeremy Pena, when he walks around, the crowds follow him. I mean, it is unreal the amount of just chaos that he creates, just his presence.
Yeah, I know that they have not selected a slogan yet. They're still working on it, so we'll see what happens. I know everybody wants it to be "Run It Back," so we'll see what happens there. But I'm sure they're working on that right now. Like I saw
Oh
"Level Up"
yeah.
still up there, and so they'll come up with something catchy. So "Run It Back," is that too long of a hashtag? We'll have to see if that's too long. But
Hey,
uh,
how about locked in? And
no,
then we
I
can
don't
get
think they'll
locked
do that.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
But
should. They should.
Jose Altuve, or Jeremy Pena. Oh yeah, so Jose Altuve says it all about how important Jeremy Pena was to this team. He said, "I'm still thanking him for what he did, giving me another ring." And so that just shows how good a player he was. And to kind of wrap up the show, Ryan Presley said, "We want to go back to back, first time since 2020." Well, he didn't say that, but he said, "One's not enough." And I think the Astros are all determined to win again in 2023. So we'll go ahead and go over to some more quotes in our next podcast. But this has been a fun one. And
Yeah.
producer Mark, I'll bring you back up here. So thank you once again for everything you do. Where can they find your content on TikTok and everything?
Yeah, so anywhere, Instagram, TikTok is Mark MARK Drew DREW HTX as in Houston, Texas, because that's what I do it for.
That's awesome.
Alrighty.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And again, thanks for doing the videos. Thank y'all for everyone who came up to us. I know I took a lot of pictures with people who watched the show, and thank you for showing your interest. Thank you for the kind words. We genuinely appreciate it, and we're humbled every time that you guys walk up to us and tell us how much you enjoy the show. It just keeps us going. So thank y'all so much. We're looking forward to it. We are getting ever so close to pitchers and catchers reporting.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the rosters that was unveiled last week and some more on the next Locked On Astros podcast. We are your only daily Astros podcast out there, and we'll see you next time. And go Astros.